Welcome to the Bottom Line Live, where we are going to talk about bookkeeping. I know that that's what we talk about every week. It's like if you were going to ask me, what are we doing tonight? It'd be like the same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world. So we talk about bookkeeping, and tonight specifically, we're going to talk about what should you look for in a bookkeeper. And I'm going to share this. Jerry might have just shared it for me, but we're going to share it. But it's a question I get asked all the time. You know, we can't take on every single client that needs bookkeeping. Not everyone is the right fit for us. So it's, you know, so people ask me, okay, like, what should I look for when hiring a bookkeeper or getting a bookkeeper? It's a very valid question because it's something that people don't know. Like, you know, can you look at a P&L and balance sheet and see if they're done right or not? I can, but you probably, you know, business owners can't look at their P&L and balance sheet and know for sure that they're being done right. So what can you do from a business owner perspective to make sure that you are getting the right bookkeeper? Whether you're getting someone in-house, you're getting an outside bookkeeping firm, you know, what is it that you should look for? So, you know, just to give you guys an example of the type of clients that we take. So we take businesses that generally are going to be in like a 250,000 revenue to maybe like, you know, we got a new client who's at a 15 million revenue. So that's kind of like, we'll take the smaller ones and we'll take really big ones. And we generally do service-based industries. You know, we don't do inventory. We do sales tax. Like we have doctors that we do bookkeeping for who also sell toothbrushes. So, you know, we'll do their sales tax, but in general, we're not doing restaurants, brick and mortar stores, hotels. We do some e-commerce because it's generally pretty simple, but like, just to give you guys an idea, that's the type of clients that I take. So what if you're not a client that fits in that range? And there are bookkeepers who specialize in different areas. So that's one thing you can look at. If you are a restaurant, maybe there's a bookkeeper who specializes in restaurants. That doesn't mean, like, we do have a few restaurants that we do bookkeeping for, so that doesn't mean that they have to be specialized, but it sometimes can be nice, right? Like I'm not, I don't have a specialization or a niche really on my bookkeeping. We do specialize, like I said, in service-based industries, and we do QuickBooks Online only. So there are other companies who, other bookkeeping companies who specialize in a specific type of industry. I have a referral, almost a mentor. They specialize in e-commerce. So if I ever get an e-commerce company coming to me that needs more than just very basic bookkeeping, I always refer it to them because they specialize in e-commerce. So that's one thing to look for. Other things to look for, and then I'll tell you the main way that you can kind of tell. Because on this promo that we sent out, it's like, okay, so qualities: trustworthy, knowledgeable, organized, detail oriented. So how do you tell that? How do you know? Well, when you ask them a question, do they answer it in a timely manner? Do they give you a reply within, you know, by one business day, let's say? I mean, if you email them, depending on time zones and what, you know, if it's Friday at 5 p.m., you expect that you might not get a reply until Monday, end of day. But, you know, do you generally get a timely reply? We have a policy. We always reply to emails and requests within one business day. Not everybody has that policy, but if it takes them 2 to 3 weeks to get back to you, it's just going to be frustrating. And in their busy season, it's going to take them even longer than that. So that's one test to tell. Do they get back to you? That doesn't mean do they have whatever your request is done in one business day, because sometimes you need more time. but do they let you know that they received your communication and it's going to get done, and perhaps some estimate of when it will be done? Like, okay, we should be able to have this done by the end of the week. We need until the end of the month, or whatever, depending on the urgency of the request. That's probably your top way. Another thing to look at is when you ask them to do something, do they understand what you're asking them to do? And if they don't understand, do they make sure that they understand? Like if you say, can you give me, because here's the thing that happens, business owners aren't bookkeepers. So you guys sometimes ask me for the most randomest things and I don't understand what you're asking for. And I have to try to translate it into what does this mean? So you say, can you give me the profit report? And it's like, okay, so do you mean a P&L, like a profit and loss statement? Do you want to know how much you were paid out? Do you want to know what it shows as the profit on your P&L? Like what exactly are you asking me for? So do they make sure that they understand what you're asking for so they can give you what you're asking for? Let's say you're a business owner, you're not an S Corp yet, and you say, and we say, okay, what was this for? And you say, oh, that was payroll. And we go, okay, but you're not on payroll. So do they just categorize it as payroll even though you're not actually set up on payroll? Or do they make sure to clarify and find out, oh, what I meant was this is money that I transferred myself to pay myself. Okay, so it's a distribution to yourself, or it's a draw to yourself. You know what I mean? So you have to make sure that your bookkeeper will clarify to understand what you're saying to do what you want, because there's a lot of words in bookkeeping and accounting, and you mean specific things. And if somebody doesn't totally understand them, then you're not going to get what you asked for. Another thing, is it a company like, okay, so not to say small bookkeeping companies aren't great. Like if, you know, your sister's cousin's boyfriend's daughter is a bookkeeper, that doesn't mean that they don't do good bookkeeping. But if you look for reviews, ask for referrals, like do they have references rather? Do they have people that you can call and ask, or do they have reviews written that you can read? Like, do you know that they know what they're doing, or did they start doing bookkeeping yesterday? Are they organized? Okay, if they're really small, maybe they're not incorporated yet, but do they have insurance? They should have errors and omissions insurance, professional insurance. That's important. They might not have it yet when they first started out, but if they're an independent company that's doing bookkeeping, they should have that. Do they have like a service agreement or an engagement letter that spells out exactly what they're going to be doing for you? That's important. Things like that. So look for organization. And of course, if they're a really small new bookkeeping company, they might not have all that, but you can still request them to get it. Okay, what are other things? Are they certified in QuickBooks or we use QuickBooks Online. So I'm going to ask, are they certified in QuickBooks Online? If they're not, how many years of experience do they have in the software that you use, which I'm hoping is QuickBooks Online, because that's the best, most easy, efficient one. Did they start using it yesterday, or have they been using it for 5 years? And if they say they've been using it for 5 years, when was the last time they used it? Did they use it yesterday, or did they use it a year ago? If they used it yesterday, what are they using it for? Think about this. Like, people tell me they know QuickBooks Online, and I come to find out that all they've been doing in QuickBooks Online is sending invoices. Okay, that's great. I'm really happy that you know how to send invoices in QuickBooks Online, but that's like one tiny part of bookkeeping. And if you've been an in-house bookkeeper, that you're just the accounts receivable person and all you're doing is writing invoices, you might not know how to do a full bookkeeping cycle. So now, guys, I'm not saying you can't hire people who are new, but it should reflect that. Like, maybe at that point, you might want to pay a flat rate, or you might want to get some guarantee that you're not just paying them hourly a high amount of money to learn, if they, for them to learn how to do your bookkeeping. So either they should be charging based on their experience, or charging a flat rate so that it's, market price, or they should go work for someone else and get more experience. So that's one thing to look for, or that's a bunch of things to look for. There's a lot of different things. Okay. Excuse me. Do they know how to pay payroll taxes? Okay. So not all bookkeepers do payroll, but the ones that do, if you ask them, can you run my payroll? They have to know how to register you for the different states. They have to know how to register you federally. They have to know how to set up QuickBooks payroll correctly. And also, guys, what are the laws for your state? California, for instance, they have this overtime law that anything over 8 hours in a day is overtime, as well as anything over 40 hours in a week. So does your bookkeeper know the overtime laws for your state? It's important to know, because if you're giving them your employees' hours or your hours and they're paying payroll, they need to know the laws for that state. And if they don't know it, they have to have a database to find out. I have a database. I can go find out what any laws are regarding payroll or HR for any state, because I have clients in many, many states and I need to know all of those rules, all of those laws. So they have to have access to that, or they have to know it. Yeah, if your bookkeeper is in your office and that's what you need and want, then great. Like, if either they're in-house or they come into your office and they print everything out and file it, that's great. If that's what you want to pay for. We do everything electronically. We file in files electronically. We try to save the trees by not printing everything out. But I know when I first learned bookkeeping, you printed everything out, you stapled it, you put it in the file where it goes, you know. So, and that's very old school. It's not wrong, but it's just not necessary these days. You can, you know, print it to PDF and file it in an electronic file. Also, there's a client I worked for at one point whose bookkeeper used to charge them, you know, a relatively large amount of money for all of her hours, which is fine, but then part of her time she would be making folders and printing things out and filing. And if you're paying a bookkeeper bookkeeping rates for filing, that just hurts my soul, because you could pay an administrative assistant for filing and that costs a lot less than paying a full charge bookkeeper to make file folders and file. So keep in mind what you want them to actually do. All right. Does the bookkeeper know how to reconcile? You can ask them. Hopefully they tell you the truth, right? But do you know how to reconcile? Yes or no? And if they say yes and they reconcile, you can actually go look in your books and see the reconciliations and see if they're done. You can also go, if you open up the reconciliations, you can see if there's transactions uncleared that are past transactions. That's an error. There shouldn't be any past transactions. The only transactions potentially could be checks that have been written and sent out but haven't been cashed yet. So that can happen. But other random transactions, if there's Staples transactions from March and your reconciliation uncleared, your books are wrong. So make sure that your bookkeeper knows how to do that. And ask them, just ask them, do you know how to reconcile? You know, and here's the thing, do they know how to problem solve in QuickBooks Online? So I test every applicant that I get for a bookkeeping job. I go through, I give them a written test that asks them lots of hard, annoying questions. And then I give them an actual QuickBooks Online test and make them do 2 months of bookkeeping. And unfortunately, the amount of people that get a B or above on that bookkeeping test, even after interviewing with my HR and even after doing the written test, is probably 10 to maybe 20% that actually pass that. So, and that doesn't mean that they don't know how to do anything in QuickBooks or that they couldn't do all right if somebody was managing them, but that means that they don't know how to do a full bookkeeping cycle on their own. They can't do 1 month's worth of bookkeeping from beginning to end. That's what that means. So you want to know if they can problem solve. You want to know, and you might not know as a business owner, like what questions to ask. So it's a little difficult, but that's why you're going to have to judge based on their communication and how long it takes them to get back to you. Ask for reviews. ask them how long they've been doing bookkeeping. You don't need someone who's been doing bookkeeping 30 years maybe, but you might want someone who's been doing bookkeeping more than a year or two. If they've only been doing bookkeeping a year or two, or if the last time they did bookkeeping was 5 years ago, they might not be up on all the new software changes and all the things that they need to do. So you want someone who's experienced and current. For instance, this year, my bookkeepers and I are going to QuickBooks Connect, or some of my bookkeepers and I are going to go to QuickBooks Connect in Las Vegas. We're going to get up on all of the new software changes. I try to keep up with it all. QuickBooks likes to change. It can be annoying, but if you haven't used it for a few years, it's different. Or if you've only used QuickBooks Desktop and you go into QuickBooks Online, it's different. It takes a learning curve. It's not exactly the same. They do the same thing, like in the end, you'll have the same product, but they don't work the same way. So it takes a little while to figure out everything that you need to know how to do in QuickBooks Online. All right, what else do I have on my list? And okay, good. Here's another thing. Do they know how to do a full AR and AP cycle? So what does that mean? AR, accounts receivable, AP, accounts payable. So AR would be when you as a business owner invoice somebody else. That's now accounts receivable to you. Someone owes you money. Does your bookkeeper know how to do the whole cycle from beginning to end? Do they know how to enter invoices? And then not only enter invoices, but make sure that the way that they entered it, because you have to add, items and services to the invoices, maps correctly to the P&L and it gets entered correctly. Then do they know how to receive the payment? Do they know to receive it to undeposited funds? Do they know to, you can play them this video if you want. I'm actually making a bookkeeping class, mostly for business owners, so you guys will be able to have that as well. But do they know then how to deposit it? There's 3 steps. You got to create the invoice, you have to apply a payment, and then you have to deposit it. And if you're in the banking window in QuickBooks Online, you have to match it to the deposit. So that's a full accounts receivable cycle. They need to know how to do that if your company invoices. If you track bills in QuickBooks, that's an accounts payable cycle, accounts that you have to pay out, right? Do they know the full accounts payable cycle? Do they know how to create bills in QuickBooks and then apply the payments correctly? That's something that not every bookkeeper knows how to do. And there was a time I didn't know how to do it. So it doesn't mean anything bad. It just means that they might not have the experience that you need if you need them to be able to do that. I know most bookkeeping companies are small companies. They're going to be, Sally Sue that has 5 to 10 bookkeeping clients, and that's fine because I've met a lot of those, and they're usually women, and they're great bookkeepers, and that's why they have their own company, but not always. So, and is it a good fit for you? Are they doing it the way that you need it for your company? Now, there are certain things that business owners ask for that don't work in bookkeeping. Sometimes business owners ask me to see their owner's payments on their P&L, on their profit and loss. It doesn't go there. No bookkeepers are going to be able to put it there for you. If you want a customized report separately on an Excel spreadsheet that shows it just so you can see what you consider your bottom line, okay. Can your bookkeeper use Excel or, Google Sheets or not? Probably yes. But if you ask them for it on your profit and loss, it doesn't work. They're just going to be able to, they just have to say to you, that's not how it works. And that's hard for some bookkeepers to say or explain. And business owners can sometimes get frustrated. But it's not that the bookkeeper doesn't want to do that for you. It's that that's not how bookkeeping works. If you say, I purchased a car and I wanted to show on my profit and loss statement, that's not how bookkeeping works. A car purchase would be an asset, it would go on your balance sheet. So keep that in mind, that there's some things that you might be upset that your bookkeeper or your potential bookkeeper says no to, but there are rules to bookkeeping, and those are some of the rules. So keep that in mind. That doesn't mean that they can't give you whatever data you need, that they can create custom reports so you can see what you want to see. But a profit and loss and a balance sheet have very specific items on them, and they're not going to be the same as sometimes what you consider your profit. Sometimes business owners tell me, what do you mean I had 150,000 in profit? There's no money in my bank account. Like, yes, you are correct. There's no money in your bank account, but it was considered profit because you paid it out to yourself, or you spent it on things that aren't tax deductible. If you spend business money on items that aren't tax deductible, it's considered profit, even if you spend it. If you buy a car, it's often not tax deductible. There are ways to make it tax deductible, like we talked about in our meeting last week with Tax Hive. Wow, that was already a week ago. It feels like it was yesterday. So, there's the 179 clause where if the car weighs a certain amount and you're using it for business, it can be tax deductible. But in general, if you're buying property, which a car or an asset, it goes on your balance sheet, it's not tax deductible, even though you maybe spent, money, either the down payment or if you paid it all in cash, it's still not going to go on your profit and loss. So keep that in mind. There are rules. But does this bookkeeper that you're talking to or that you have as your bookkeeper know those things? Now, here's another thing to look at. Let's say you already have a bookkeeper working for you and you have an engagement letter or you have a service agreement that says that they're going to be doing your bookkeeping every month and sending you, or says they're going to be doing your bookkeeping every month. When you go look in your books, if you know how to get in there, but you could go look in your books, is your bookkeeping up to date? Are they actually doing it? Or do they come in whenever they have time every few months and do it? Because that's not what you signed up for. If you're paying for that and you're not getting your bookkeeping every month, then that's a red flag. If you signed up for quarterly bookkeeping or annual bookkeeping, that's different. Then you would get them quarterly or annually. Now, are they sending you reports every month? Or when you ask for reports, can you get them in a timely manner? If you asked for a profit and loss and you're a monthly bookkeeping client, no matter what time of month it is, I can minimally give you a profit and loss from the month that we did bookkeeping for. Like, let's say it's, June 1st, you might not get May's profit and loss because we haven't finished May yet because May just ended, but we can easily give you April's profit and loss and you'll know what it was up till then. And then, if you're in a rush, we can of course schedule it in to catch up May and give you the June profit and loss probably by the first week of June. If you're not in a rush, you're going to get the June profit and loss by generally the second week of June if you've given us any statements or anything that you need. So if you're not getting reports from your bookkeepers at all, or if you're not getting reports when you ask for them, that's another red flag. So there's a lot of things, you and your bookkeeper should have a partnership. You should be working together to achieve your goals for your company. If you need to know your numbers, you need to know what your profit and loss is, you need to know how much money is in your bank account, the bookkeeper should be able to provide those things for you. They might not be able to provide it on a minute-to-minute basis, and if you need that, you probably need to hire someone in-house. But if you need to know, by a certain period of time, or what was it up until, the end of April or the end of May or whatever, they should be able to get that for you and work with you so that you have the reports that you need when you need them. Okay, this has been another episode of picking Maya's brain about all the things she knows about bookkeeping, which apparently is quite a lot because we've done almost 6 months of these bottom line lives. All right, so if anybody has any questions for me, either in my Zoom or on Facebook Live, feel free to reach out. You can comment, you can email me, maya@solvencynow.com. You can go on my website, solvencynow.com. I'm on Facebook under Maya Weinreb, you can see here, or under Solvency Now Bookkeeping. I'm on Instagram under both of those. I'm on LinkedIn under Maya Weinreb. So you can reach out to me a lot of different ways. If you don't feel like your bookkeeper is doing exactly what you need and you want a review of your books, we do reviews. They're not free. We charge you for them, but we will review your books and let you know. And I would hope that I would be able to come out of it and say your bookkeeping is great, your bookkeeper is a keeper. If they're not, we'll let you know. We'll let you know a report with any errors or things or when the last time they did bookkeeping. So feel free to reach out if you need that help. And if you haven't done your bookkeeping for 2021 yet, Taxes are, you probably filed an extension, but taxes are coming up due, guys. So it's first come, first serve. If you want it done on time, come now so we can get it done. All right, well, thank you all so much for your time. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching all of these hearts to all my fans. And I'll see you guys next week, same time, Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bottom Line Live. All right, bye.